Welcome to Immigration Invasion, a podcast where we explore the ridiculous and absurd aspects of immigration law in the U.S. We're your hosts, Asma.
Well, Armstrong.
And we are super excited. We have Jaime Barron here in the studio. Welcome, Jaime.
Thank you. I really appreciate being here. So thank you so much for
Absolutely. Jaime, could you tell, and I mean, you know, most of us in DFW know who you are. Most of the people that watch this are in DFW area. But for those who don't know, Jaime, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Jaime Barron. I'm from Mexico. I immigrated to the U.S., I think, at age 16. And I was living in Brownsville. From there, I did my undergrad, and then I moved to Dallas in '95 to go to SMU for law school. And I've been here ever since. Got licensed in '99, so 26 years, and from day one doing immigration law. So I used to work at a nonprofit, Proyecto Adelante. I always confuse them. Proyecto Adelante, who is now defunct. But I started as a nonprofit, and sadly it went bust. So after that, I started my own office in 2000, and been doing the same thing for 26 years now.
Wow, Jaime, that's
since you were like 7 years old.
I actually started when I was 24.
Yeah.
So it's been a while.
Yeah. Wow. And Jaime's being far too humble, and we'll kind of get into this. He's quite super successful, has lots of offices. Lots of staff and
lots of
attorneys, and that's what this episode is going to be about, is how Jaime manages all of that. But before we get into that, we're going to do our broken news segment.
Absolutely.
And boy, do we have a lot to talk about.
We will not run out. I'm thinking for at least 3 years. We have a 3-year supply of breaking news, broken news constantly. And this episode is no different.
Yeah.
So the first story we have up is that and this is a big one, DHS is now arguing that anyone who entered without inspection at any time is subject to mandatory detention. This is based on a case where the court found that someone was not eligible to be considered for parole.
Matter of QE.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not eligible to be considered for parole, and that if the government let them out, the only authority that would have had would have been, parole, which they did not have. And people at first got really excited, as they matter of culi, or as we say in Spanish, maraculi. A lot of people are like calling me about maraculi, and they wanted to know, can we get them parole now?
Mm-hmm.
But no, this is not a positive finding. It's a negative finding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's terrible. Right now, it affects everything, the whole strategy, because a lot of people have to fight it while being detained. And not a lot of people want to sustain that pain. Yeah,
absolutely. And, I think the most frustrating part, too, being an immigration attorney with this is it's been very inconsistent how judges have been applying this. Some of them are just straight out saying we don't have jurisdiction because of matter of QLE. Mm-hmm. And then others are saying, no, I do have jurisdiction. I'm going to grant a bond, but then I guess ICE has been filing paperwork now to even if the family member does go pay the bond, that prevents ICE from releasing them. And so it's been just overall very frustrating lately.
Exactly. They changed the rules, they changed the interpretation, and I guess ICE is being told to do everything in your power to delay and make them sweat and make them get tired. And at the worst case scenario, if they get released, we're going to put an ankle monitor or some type of other controls. So it's just the aggression, the continuous aggression of making it so much more complicated than it should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they have to meet their quotas, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to hit those numbers, buddy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of numbers,
Yeah, really.
Nice.
Numbers.
Yes. Everybody likes numbers. But what I think a lot of people did not like were the numbers that have come out of the big beautiful bill. And so how does this how did the big beautiful bill affect immigration? And so the way that it affected, there's a lot in the big beautiful bill in general that affected immigration. But one thing that we are seeing now is the increase in filing fees for people who are in immigration court proceedings.
Yes.
So let's talk about some examples. So just this week we had to fee in a cancellation of removal application, which used to be $100, and now it's like $700 and some dollars, which is crazy.
And it's the rules that allow the government to increase a fee, and they just do it to make it impossible. If you have somebody that can barely sustain themselves economically, and now they're getting deported, and now it starts out to almost $1,000 the fee, a lot of people are going to think twice before filing, and that's the strategy of the government. Everything has to be slowed down, make it complicated, and let the immigrant get tired so they can self-deport. So it's just a dirty strategy.
Yeah, it really is. The $100 pending application fee I mean, that one is just it's shameless. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's telling them, look, we can't adjudicate your case in a reasonable amount of time, therefore you have to pay, right? We can't adjudicate it in 1 year, 2 years. So however many years it's pending, you have to pay $100 just for the pleasure of having it pending.
And the strategy is that the immigrant forgets to pay, so it gets canceled, terminated, pre-terminated, something. They're going to figure it out, so then they can kill off more applicants. So it's all a strategy.
Yeah, even from a more simpler, looking at this in a more simple light, how are they going to know? Right? People that have had their case pending for 4 or 5 years, how are they being notified? What kind of notice is being given to them that they now have to pay $100 a month? A year, sorry.
It might be the responsibility of the applicant to follow up.
Oh.
And then that it's everything is created for them to fail, for the clients to fail. And electronic notifications, they go to the spam folder. So there's a very high likelihood. I would say most people will fail to pay, and then their applications get pre-terminated. It's just a very hard. So the trick here is that you need an attorney to follow up with that, because a lot of the clients either don't have the technology to follow up, or the government on purpose is making it more complicated for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Or don't speak English. I mean, I'm looking on the big beautiful bill. I don't see the grande. Bill grande.
English is the official language now, so you have to take your interpreter everywhere now.
Yeah.
So it's I mean, I'm with you on this, Jaime. I think we look at this increase in fees. You have to ask yourself, what's the real purpose? What do they actually expect? Do they expect?
They expect you to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
No?
Yeah.
Isn't that Bond villain that's like, no, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Gold finger.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
When she's in the laser.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly what this is, right?
Yeah.
So, that's there's unfortunately more to go over.
Yeah.
And more moves that they're doing with the same goal. And if raising fees and forcing mandatory detention wasn't bad enough, they've now started third country removals again.
Yes. So that that has been interesting. My understanding is that they haven't been able to remove everybody yet to these third countries. They're having some difficulty, and so normally when somebody's detained for 6 months or more, right, the immigrants allowed to file a habeas action. Of course, they can keep them still beyond the 6 months, but it hasn't been as successful. I believe from ICE's perspective as they want, but they keep adding more countries onto this list that are willing to accept our deportees. And I guess the big news was that they added a country, and we had to Google this because between 3 immigration lawyers, we did not know where this country.
We're pretty good at geography.
And we're pretty good at geography. A country called Eswatini.
Eswatini.
I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Longtime ally of the U.S.
Yeah.
Eswatini.
They're trying to find the poorest countries that basically accept a bribe for them to take all these people that the government has no idea where to put them. And usually they park them in countries that are outside of the U.S. jurisdiction, for them to not fall under the rule of law.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's about as thinly veiled as it can be, right? That this is just another way to.
It's Guantanamo on steroids.
It really is. And like countries where people have no connection to, don't know the language, don't know.
Countries that haven't even agreed to not torture the people we sent them.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee of safety with these countries. And I think it's by design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, it'd be much nicer if they sent them to countries like, Japan or a nice vacation, but that's not.
Yeah, and it's scare tactics. Imagine you're somebody, let's say from Panama, that wants to cross into the U.S., but now you know that if you get detained, they might not ship you back to Panama or to Costa Rica or whatever, and then they send you to an African country that you have no ties, and just a plane ticket from over there coming back home might be thousands of dollars. It'll make you think twice to come back. So it's part of the scare strategy to dissuade people to try to come to the U.S. And it's aggressive, but it looks like it's working.
I mean, is it working?
I mean,
to solve
that for the government,
or is even for the government, right? Is it something? And I've read articles where people have varying opinions. Yes, it's working in the short term, but in the long term, you're not doing anything but creating a delayed demand to come to the United States.
Yeah, exactly, because it's going to be pent up right now, and then it might be suddenly we get an influx if the rules soften. So it's sad because I think we have Trump because of the immigration issue, but at the same time, Trump, when excessive, aggressive, inhumane, and he's just making it. It's going to backfire on and the political parties. They're going to get hit hard, and we might see a change in presidency because he's going overboard. Yeah, too aggressive.
Yeah.
And he's just following the Project 2025 plan.
I mean, that's one of the things that kills us the most is, we are starting to see stories where people are like, I voted for him, but I didn't vote for this. And I'm like, he handed out pamphlets, the Project 2025.
This is a real surprise.
Yeah, this is exactly what you voted for. He literally was campaigning on mass deportations. And we don't have enough criminals to do mass deportation only of criminals. So to get mass, you've got to include, everybody.
All they had to do was do a Google search of Stephen Miller, who was, basically the architect behind his immigration stuff. And one Google search, they would have known everything that they would have had to know about what was going to happen.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And that's not even pointing out that he looks just like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Which is another clue, right? That's another clue.
Absolutely. Well, in a story of unlikely heroes.
Yes. Absolutely.
So Robert was the one that actually found this article. We always like to have one kind of funny lighthearted one to throw in there. Otherwise, this would get very depressing to do.
Yeah.
But there was, I guess, some bees that attacked CBP officers
Yes.
in Brownsville. It was.
Yes, it seemed
Okay.
that way, and I mean, it seems like this was an organized attack. It was an organized attack. Their protests. Surprised the administration has not labeled these as terrorist riots, but that
Not
is.
Mexican bees.
But yeah, clearly not. Even if they're not, they could still deport them to Mexico. It doesn't matter. I'm not sure who made the call. I mean, this is a super short story, and someone was like, "You know what? Let's run with it." I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
And poor officers. It says that they were okay, and also the bees. Usually when they sting, they die.
Oh gosh.
So
Those poor bees.
Just no wins.
no,
Yeah. No wins there.
Yeah. I heard, and this may be something I just made up right now while talking to you guys, that they tried to chase them down on horseback. The same unit that they sent for Haitians was sent to go deal with the bees. It wasn't effective. It wasn't effective. I made that up. That's not.
Yeah. Okay, so let's kind of get into what this segment is about. This segment is going to be called Leadership in the Chaos, what it takes to steer the ship. And I cannot think of anyone better to have to talk about this than Jaime Barron. So, Jaime, I want to start off with how did your law firm, how did you, Jaime Barron, become what it is today? Jaime Barron.
Well, we've been in business for a long time. So what you see now, it took me 26 years to build. We have several locations in Dallas, Fort Worth, DC, and Seattle. And how we got there is just one office at a time. I've built really good relationships with other leaders in the office. And between all of us, we train others and help others. And we found a lot of attorneys that had leadership potential, and we give them a chance to help us run one of our offices. And we just kept multiplying. And I guess that's how we ended up with what we have now.
Oh, that's amazing.
And to be clear, you didn't start from like 3 offices, and that's just your humble beginnings. What were you when you started? What was Jaime Barron?
First, I started a nonprofit. Then, when that agency sadly went bankrupt, I started an executive suite. I had saved all the money I had was $4,000, and I haggled with the landlord at an executive suite, saying, "Hey, if I pay the full year in advance, will you lower the monthly payment?" So it went like, I don't know, from $450 to $300 something a month, and that's it. I had no money. And from there, one client after another, working 90 hours a week. I really clocked in 90 hours a week for years. We just grew. And then you get one employee, another employee. And, clients like you, they hire you, you do the work, they recommend you, and you just keep repeating it. And years later, that's how we grew. We went from that executive suite, was 400 square feet. And they kicked us out because it was very ritzy, ditzy kind of neighbors that didn't like my business. So they complained and they kicked us out. And then we went to a little office in not a nicer part of town, not very good. And we were there about 8 years. And from there, we moved to another building, and then currently where we're at. So we moved like, I guess, maybe every 5 or 8 years until now. I hope never to move again. So.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I'm going to assume you guys are, the 29 or so attorneys you have are no longer working out of just one suite, right?
No, we
not piled into one.
No, it's we expanded, and a lot of them showed leadership potential. So we risked opening other offices, and it's worked out fine. And so, like, I'm in Dallas, Hussein is in Dallas, Kelly's in DC, Wilda's in DC, Carlos in Seattle, and we have our leader, one leader in Fort Worth that manages 2 offices. Aaron also in Garland. and it's being surrounded by people you trust. You know, you give your life for them, and they respond back, and that you show that you really, really care for their welfare as employees, as colleagues, as human beings. And I think it's been one of the secrets for us to be able to, we trust each other and we grow.
Jaime, one thing that I really love about your story, and I'm sorry I'm going a little off our script, but
okay.
I think your story is really one we talk about, and Robert and I talk about this a lot. Like, you know, whenever you hear the term immigrant hustle, and like your story is one of immigrant hustle. Like, you came here as an immigrant, and you were willing to put in the time, the hours to really, with very limited resources, to grow your business. How do you think coming from an immigrant background kind of helped?
Um, I immigrated like everybody else. You know, I was undocumented for a while. We got our papers. As you can hear, I have an accent. They say that if you arrive to a U.S. after age 16, the accent is hard to remove. And growing up in Brownsville, which was mostly Hispanic, I'm going to say about 85-90% Hispanic. When I was in college, I noticed that, for example, a class of, let's say, 30 students, 4 were white. And those 4 had the best grades in the class. And I just didn't understand why. What were they doing different that I couldn't compete with them? And it has to do a lot with acculturation. You grow up here, you know the system, you know how it works. And when you come from another country, you don't know how to adapt. So for me to be able to compete with the majority, you know, I had to take extra classes. I was lucky, for example, in undergrad, that they offered free algebra, free accounting, free English literature, free writing, you know, with senior students. So I would sign up for about 3 hours a day. They were free classes they offered in college to speak better, to write better, to think better, to understand accounting, to understand algebra. And that's how I had to compete where somebody maybe naturally is smarter. I had to put in 3 hours extra of classes. And then that hustle, that chip on your shoulder, that anger, frustration just evolves into, I might not be richer, prettier, or stronger or smarter than you, but I'm just going to work more hours until I adapt and I can overcome the competition. So you overcome with a lot of pain and willing to do what is ethically allowed and required for you to succeed in this country, whatever business you're in. So if somebody wants, you know, to work 40 hours, it's harder to succeed against if your competitor is working 90 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And
Or
that
40 with a ton of resources behind them.
exactly.
Yeah.
If you start out with $1 million loan that daddy or mommy or, you know, somebody else subsidized you, it's a lot easier. But when you start with nothing, the trick is just to work as hard as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And that's the immigrant mentality. A lot of the people that succeed, it's no coincidence that a lot of immigrants come to this country and overcome in every pivot, even the language barrier. And it's just because they learn fast, and they work double. You know, I had a friend of mine complaining the other day, oh, I'm so tired. Why are you tired? Well, I've been working, you know, 40 hours. It's so painful. And I'm like, oh my God, I remember when I used to work part-time. And it's, you know, I mean, at 26 years, I'm still putting in about 60 something hours a week.
Yeah.
And it's what's needed to succeed in my case. And, you know, a lot of people have to understand that if you want to be an entrepreneur or business owner, forget about 40 hours. You're going to have the worst boss ever, which is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's what's needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you shared a little bit about your evolution when you started, right?
My devolution.
Devolution? Just like a working werewolf there.
Yeah.
So how or I guess what does that evolution look like now, and what does it look like as you grew from one attorney in an executive suite to 10 or to 20 to where you're at now?
You have to be surrounded by key personnel. It's humanly impossible for me to do every consult, to go to every court hearing, to do payroll, to pay my taxes, to pay the bills, and think strategy and organization. It's physically impossible. But as we grow, I have other people that I trust, and it becomes a group. So eventually becomes an army. And and then, instead of me personally helping one person, I'm sorry, now with a crew of 30 attorneys, we can help 300, where in the past I could do maybe 5 or 10 myself. So it's better for the community, better for business, better for the practice of law, and principally it's better for the clients because you have more resources, more brain power. I mean, just think about having 30 attorneys. Hussein and I by ourselves have 50 years experience. And then you add others that have 25, 10 years, 5 years, and you have 300 years of experience between all the attorneys. And somebody has always seen that problem. And internally, it works great because usually every client has more than one attorney being involved in the case. And so you have more brain power, more resources, and the ability to act quicker. So it just becomes a multiplying effect, a factorization issue. So I think that's what helps us grow. But if I expected for me to do everything, I would fail. So the only way to grow is with key personnel that are leaders, that are very strong, and each one can be self-reliant. That if I falter, somebody else can come in and help.
Did you have to learn to trust and learn how
Oh,
to
yeah.
delegate? And is that something that
Yeah, I mean, it's a skill that you don't learn in law school. Law school, they teach you to think like a lawyer, but they don't teach you how to be a leader, how to open up a business, how to pay checks or whatever.
they just get 100 of the smartest people in their classes
And
and
learn
put
to
them on a
learn.
curve
Exactly.
and put them on a curve.
And that's it. So a lot. I studied my undergrad is business management, and I'm thankful I studied that because I understand how to read a financial statement. I know industrial relations. I know consumer behavior. I know advertising, marketing, college algebra, calculus, all the stuff that I learned in undergrad. I apply all these weird geometry, trigonometry, calculus, factorization, Pythagorean theorem that you think don't apply, they do. But you don't realize that.
Correct.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
But that's, my business undergrad, it really, really helped because I had to separate the practice of law with the practice of entrepreneurship and then corporate, which is different from entrepreneur. But, definitely it's a lot of skills you have to learn or take a course or be a mentor or read 1,000 books that really help you to evolve. And I think the better, and I'm in business, the better lawyer I can be and the better I allow other lawyers in the law firm to be. So we can hyper focus and be really good at court and detention and appeals and H's and L's and old school Nakata amnesty cases that are sometimes somehow coming back and then figure out TPS and parole. But it's humanly impossible to do everything.
Yeah.
So you have to rely on other people that are better than you.
And so, Jaime, I know you mentioned this where you, one of the biggest how you were able to expand was basically delegating, but also not only delegating, but finding people that attorneys or kind of people who could take on leadership roles within the firm. What personality traits, in your experience, do those people usually possess? Like, how do you kind of see what type of person might be good for something like that?
It's really hard. For example, in the job interviews, when they interview the attorneys, you're like, oh my God, this is awesome. He's awesome. She's awesome. He can do this. She can do that. So you think they're great attorneys. The leadership skills, usually you don't see them in the resume. So I like to see beyond just the practice of law. I remember I asked a guy, okay, your resume is awesome. You've done this, you've done that, but tell me what you've done that is non-legal work. And, well, you usually don't put it in the resume because they tell us not to, just to focus on, but if I'm looking for leadership potential, I want to know all around, have you had a tough job? Has somebody insulted you? Have you ever to manage anybody? Have you dealt with complex issues? And this guy told me that he used to work in a farm. And I'm like, well, were you in the front desk, selling pork chops? No, I was back, carrying hogs. And I immediately, I found that fascinating because that's dirty work, hard work that nobody really wants to do. So you just kind of look at issues that are hard, and not everybody wants to do it. And you're trying to figure out people that can react, can take action. They don't wait for it to be given orders. But you really leadership, being a manager, being a full-blown leader in an office, I think requires proper mentorship, acculturation to what we need, and mental toughness and going above and beyond what is needed. So if somebody says, well, I'm leaving at 5:30, they're not leadership material. Oh, I don't work Saturdays or Sundays. You're not leadership material. Give me strategies, give me ideas. Don't rely on me telling you how to do everything. So it's really hard to be a leader because you have to be really good as an attorney, but as a mentor, you need to, every manager has to learn how to hire and fire. And a lot of people are afraid to hire or fire. And it's really, really painful work. So we've had people that we assign as attorney managers or attorney leaders, and they fail and they run away because, they can't handle it. And a lot of them that have succeeded. And you have to observe, and that only you see it in daily practice. Are you a lawyer? Are you a people person? Are you a manager? Do you have potential of more? It's just a very personal thing.
Yeah.
We've had all types of managers that are really good. Some the strong and stoic, the other ones the chatty ones, the social ones. So it's different styles.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to see them day to day, how they deal with clients, how they deal with employees, colleagues. Are they gossipers? Are they serious and respectful, honest, prompt? They don't cut corners.
Yeah.
1,000 factors.
Well, it sounds like, and this, I know this because I know you well. You have a very diverse workforce and a very diverse leadership team.
Oh, yeah.
Plus geographic diversity. And in our previous conversations, we talked about how difficult it is to build a culture.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, once a culture breaks, it's the hardest thing to fix. So what do you do? What are some actionable things that someone that's thinking about opening a second or third office needs to keep in mind in order to keep that culture consistent across more than one office?
Sure. For lawyers that think that they can open offices and never be there, that's pretty dumb. There's no other way to say it. It's not, as everybody knows, the practice of law is intense in time and in pain. And opening more than one office just multiplies the effect. So, for example, you would say, I have one office, and if I have two, it's double as hard. It's not. It's quadruple as hard. If you have three offices, it's not triple as hard. It's 9 times hard. So you have to have key personnel that have a similar mentality as you, that can export and apply that culture to every single office. So a lot of our employees get promoted to a leadership position to expand the culture. It's rare we would get somebody that we've never known and just put them in a satellite office. They'll have to go through HQ for proper onboarding. And then we can export them to those locations. So they have to adapt to our system and not us to their system. So for example, if I have somebody who, in my old firm, we could, for example, we've had applicants that want a big office, physical, they say, our office has to be 14 by 18. And I'm like, no, it's going to be 12 by 12 or 10 by 12. And, but my paralegal, I don't want them to have the same office as me. Or sometimes, the paralegal was there before, so she has a bigger office than the lawyer. And some people have such a big ego that they can't tolerate that. And I'm like, you either adapt or you're gone. And we're very strict in that because we have a lot of uniformity. Yeah.
I just
And so it's as an
the
example of a
absurdity,
culture.
the absurdity of arguing with you about
But they do.
office size, and you started in a suite. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
You started in a closet.
Exactly. And but you get all types of people, and I'm not just saying lawyers, paralegals too. Well, in my old job, I was fully remote. Well, in this one, no. But in my the old job, that office went bankrupt. There's a reason it went bankrupt because of the entitlement. So it's just a debate, and not everybody works out. Not everybody has the desire to. Some people like to work in a teeny tiny office, and that's okay. Some, they're not used to receiving so many calls or having to deal with different types of clients. We've had paralegals that come from big law firms, and we got one that just hid behind her computer screen. It would not finish the cases, and they were afraid of humans. And you don't realize that because they interview really well, and you realize that when they've been working a month or two in the office, that they're people afraid of people, and we can't have that because we're very social. Um, how do you export the culture? You train, keep within parameters, discipline, continuous interaction with you as the leader, and then your underbosses, and then the managers, and then down the line. And because it's really important to have great customer service. Not a lot of lawyers suffer the God syndrome, where they think they're God's gift to earth, and we don't realize that we're dime a dozen, all of us, including myself, that
Those customer service reps.
yeah, and it's really easy to be replaced by the next law firm, the next lawyer.
Yeah.
And so we have to strive to give the best customer service. But lawyers don't know that. By training, it has to be pounded into their heads that the client is the most important, not the lawyer. That's our culture. We just try to export it as much as we can to every office for them to be almost exactly alike.
So it sounds like a recurring theme in what you're saying is the importance of connection, right? Even if you have separate people, different personality types, different locations,
Constant communication.
you make sure, well, what comes to me from when we talk, it's not just communication, because communication can be very flat and
Sure.
ineffective, right? Which is just blaring stuff out.
Sure. Dialogue.
Yeah, but dialogue, connecting with people. You walk your offices, you go, you know people. This is one of the reasons why Asma and I gravitated to you.
Yeah.
Like, you know people, as opposed to head counts and
Oh,
so that I think is something that's important. I hope anybody listening to this is taking that from this. Figure out a way to make connections and connect those disparate parts of your team.
And it's crucial that you really care. This is, for me, it's my business, yes, but at the same time, I hope to die doing this in 90 years or whatever.
Okay, I was gonna say,
But not now. But what I'm saying is,
gonna hear it?
it's
Don't let these bees here.
but yeah, the trick is that they understand that this is more important than just a job, and that they know you care. It's not about the money. We have to figure it out. I mean, we've had situations in crisis, and I know that's one of the questions, but you have to prove yourself as a leader. Your medal is when it hits the fan, how you deal with crisis, either government, emergency, natural, or inside the office. And it's then you realize your employees will understand that you really care for them. And it has to be natural, not fabricated. A lot of law firms, it's all about systems and key performance indicators and stats, and they cut you without compassion. And we try to do everything in our power to put a person in a position to succeed. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but our goal is you succeed, we succeed, but then we succeed together. So it involves a lot of leadership in caring and being a mentor for the next generation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Jaime, one thing that we, when we were kind of coming up with questions to ask you, I think one important thing that we wanted to talk about was, right now especially, it's very trying times. There's a lot of, no doubt, not only the attorneys that work for you, but even the support staff, paralegals, people answering your phones. I mean, they're just dealing with a lot of high level stress. Clients are just very scared right now.
Sure.
And there's just, no doubt there's a lot of burnout with all support staff. So how do you, in your position, kind of help the people that work for you to kind of get through these issues?
Sure. First of all, there's I request that nobody really work more than 40 hours a week. It has to be balanced. Um, we have access to health and crisis hotlines, a lot of telehealth that includes, psychological therapy work. If somebody says, I'm overwhelmed, I can't handle so many cases, we've emphasized publicly that that doesn't make you weak. You're not going to get fired or penalized for that. But if you need help, you ask for help. And that has worked a lot when, like, let's say, paralegal A feels like, oh my God, I have too many cases. I don't think I can do this case on time. They have an open door policy to talk to their senior paralegal, or supervisory paralegal, or managing paralegal to shift cases because we always have an extra paralegal available. So we don't overwhelm one paralegal. And access that they are able to release the work to somebody else that can properly handle it. Communication protocols. If somebody has an emergency, how do we shift the work to another person? If somebody wants to take a sabbatical, mental health sabbatical, or we had somebody that wanted to do the Camino walk in Spain. They wanted 6 weeks off. Okay, perfect. We do sabbaticals. So a lot of the mental health, and I talk a lot, I walk a lot, I travel a lot to speak to one-on-one, from the lowliest receptionist that I got hired a week ago to the 20-year experienced paralegal to the lawyers. I sit one-on-one. And our other managing attorneys are forced and motivated and required. And they, from their initiative, they want to have talks and a lot of dialogue because sometimes somebody might be in pain and you never know what somebody's going through. They have stress with work and then personal stress. Somebody could be sick, a family member, cancer, ex-wife, ex-husband, custody issues, battles. We've had everything. We even had to deal years ago with a suicide. So we've had experience with everything. And, we went through a crisis with the death of one of our attorneys a month ago. So they,
Sorry to hear about that.
yeah, no, it was William Humble, may he rest in peace. But the team knows we care. So we didn't. No, nobody left. Nobody quit, and everybody stepped up to the plate. A lot of the other managing attorneys, we rotate to handle all the cases, especially court work. But you prove your mettle when it's the worst, so they know that you really care, and it's not about the money.
So,
Yeah.
but let's play Diablo's advocate here.
So
Four people, four people that are, I'm all about the dollars and cents. Is there a financial benefit to giving people a sabbatical or, doing things that are traditionally seen as not being productive? Aside from the warm and fuzzy, I'm the warm and fuzzy, right? Like I just want everybody to feel well. However, I can understand other people want to know, is there a financial benefit?
Oh, absolutely. For example, maternity leave. The law requires us FMLA, whatever, to sustain up to 12 weeks. Well, we pay 6 weeks. So we offer paid maternity leave. And we encourage people to take everything and beyond. And we're happy, to give them an income, at least partially, while they do their maternity leave. So we encourage people, and we tell people, we love the kids, so we figure out a way to help them as much as we can and contribute. We've had people go through depression, severe depression, and mental health. It's okay to ask for help. I think that's a selling card because they know that they have certain benefits that contribute to their well-being. A lot of people, especially coming from big law, that they're like, oh my God, are you gonna make me work 6 days a week, 80 hours a week? What are my quotas? What are my billables? We don't have billables, and we really don't have quotas. We don't work more than
You hear that,
5 days a week.
CBP?
Yeah.
You hear that?
A lot of government employees, dodgy, they're coming to private practice. And culturally, we emphasize well-being, and giving these benefits might cost maybe a little bit more, but earns their loyalty because they see like, okay, if the crisis hits, I know I'm going to be taken care of.
Yeah.
So they expect, and they should, that their company will care for them and not just throw them out. When something happens, hey, I need a sabbatical for 6 weeks. We can't afford that. If you leave, you're done. Well, then I quit. And then they come to us. Because we, first of all, sincerely care for the employees. And I think that's been our selling cards for years. And that's why we have a lot of people that stay for long terms with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think small businesses, especially to their detriment, ignore the cost of onboarding, recruiting, hiring, and onboarding new people. There is a financial cost associated with it that, is the flip side, the analytical flip side to just, being a decent human being
Yeah.
with your staff, right?
And being
Absolutely.
good, in the US, you can be financially well off doing good. And as a company grows, we try to provide more good, more benefits, more mental health, more assistance, balanced life. And a lot of people, I don't understand this, but I've been doing it for 20 years, that the only one that works overtime is me. Everybody else feels strange leaving at 5 or 5:30, or, we have some people that leave at 4:30. And they just feel it strange because in their other law firm, they're going to trial every day and, milking them as much as they can. And it's expected to stay late. So they all compete to stay the latest. And here, no. Anybody I see 7, 8, 9 p.m. in the office, there's something wrong. And usually they burn out themselves, and we don't want them. Because to be an effective attorney, we don't want them tired or overworked. And a lot of people just work them to death because they know they're going to leave anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think Jaime, I think a lot of people, a lot of maybe younger attorneys or even some older attorneys, they think, okay, awesome. When I get to somebody like Jaime Barron's level, I'm just going to go sit on a beach.
And then go
And
bankrupt.
yeah. And so I guess can you talk a little bit about kind of what I know you said that you work probably just as many hours as you did when you first started.
I work a little bit less.
A little bit less. But what has changed? Like, what is your day-to-day? What did it look like when you first started? And what does your day-to-day look like now?
My first and second offices, I had never had windows. I didn't have windows until I had been practicing by myself for 8 years.
Physical or like with computers?
No windows, like no physical windows. So
Okay.
I would arrive usually before the sun came up, and I would never leave my office before the sun came down. And the circadian rhythm, it was bad, but that's what was needed. So as I would see clients from 8 to 12. Somebody would bring a burger, then go to court at 1. I had more court work at 1, I remember, than at 8 a.m. But the days I didn't go to court, I would see clients every single day, 6 days a week. Sometimes 15, sometimes 25 people, and it was brutal. So then when do I review cases? When do I do legal research? When do I do payroll? When do I think about the quality of the work or whatever? At night. So you would work from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., 5 days a week, then maybe leave at 7 on Saturday and then 6 hours on Sunday or something like that. That was the average. If I had court work, I'd be there all day on Sundays for Monday Sims.
Yes.
In those days, he was the junior judge. But that's what was needed. As you evolve and grow, I spend more time teaching other lawyers how to properly do a consultation, how to properly manage, how to properly handle personnel conflicts. So my consults have been reduced. I still do consults. I still do legal work, but not in the massive oceanic amounts I used to do when I started. So a lot of the time now, which is the hardest, is sitting down and thinking, doing strategy, talking with the board of attorneys that kind of manage everybody, talking to paralegals. So it has shifted a little bit more on strategic leadership than just pure practice of law. So the trick is now replicate. So instead of having one Jaime, you have 10. So that's how it has shifted. So I work less now, but not, those people that say I'm going to have it automatic and be in the beach, I say be ready for a rude awakening, because people will resent your boss who's, in the beach while you're working really, really hard. So it has to be a balance. You have to always be, Philo, first in, last out. So I have to prove there's a saying that says success is not owned, but it's rented. And you have to pay the bill every day. So you have to work. You can never just slack off. Maybe when I'm chairman emeritus or whatever, and I've been bought out, then I can relax. But while I own the firm, while I work in it, I have to prove to my attorneys that I work as hard as they do. So it just never goes away. That maybe it's a traumatic experience from the past where the moment you slack off, somebody goes to the competition because they see your heart is not into it. So I have to prove myself every day and show it to the team.
They say that effective leadership is done from the middle, not from the front, not from the back, but in the middle.
Sometimes you have to be in the front. Sometimes you have to be in the back to let others grow. But in the middle, that means you're in the thick of it and you're fighting in there. And you have to be seen, and you have to take action, and you have to be available. I tell the staff, hey, I'm going on vacation, and I know this sucks, but I have to be available. You call me anytime, any day, anywhere, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and I answer. And my wife is tolerant, and sometimes it affects personally, but that's what my requirement as a leader, as an attorney is. I cannot rest. I do rest, but I have to be available always.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I guess tying this in, right? This nice little segue, speaking about the beach and whatnot. What are some concrete leadership habits, routines, things that you do for self-care, staying grounded and focused, especially in turbulent times like now?
I was working a little bit less when Biden was president. I'm working a lot more now that Trump is president. And it affects you. And I see it for all my team and all my clients. It's a PTSD syndrome. I see it as almost as traumatic as somebody that went to war. Of course, I can't compare that, but it's very painful. And in the head, it works like that. You have to have a lot of self-care and, exercise, proper eating. It's crucial. If you let yourself go during stressful times, your body will charge you for it when peaceful times come, and your body will break down. It's like, when I'm in intense stress, I don't get sick. The moment the stress factor leaves, I get sick. I don't know if some of the attorneys that are seeing this podcast might have gone through it. So you have to have a lot of self-care. A lot of the recommendations to do this is you have to be disciplined. Start early. Not get to the office at 10 a.m. We've had attorneys that just can't function in the mornings But in the mornings, it's better because then you do the harder work in the morning. Then after lunch, you do a lot less hard work. But a lot of humility also grounded. I hate ego. I hate people that have an ego. I hate people that think they're better than they are, and they think they're better because they have a degree. We've had to terminate employees who thought they were better than others, projecting their hubris, their egocentric attitudes. They're eliminated from our office because we want to work with humble people. I'm not better than anybody. I learned from you. If I made a mistake, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to listen, try to understand. First, if it's a true mistake, how do I fix it? Teach me. I want to learn. And that, I think my dad was always a very humble person. He was successful, but he would say, always be humble, especially with people, for example, that, there's no benefit. You can't learn anything from them, maybe, or they can't teach you anything. You're even more humble. So if you treat well those that they don't give you anything back, I think that translates to being really humble with people that can teach you. So I apply equal humbleness with lawyers, paralegals, judges, clients, and people see that that's how truly I am. It's not just an act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's hard for me because it's hard when I get feedback or correction, and not necessarily from someone has nothing to do with status, right?
Sure.
Someone below or above me. It always feels, or my first reaction is to make it feel like a criticism of who I am.
Yeah.
Of like, you're not just like you messed this up, but you are a mess up. But I've tried to work really hard, specifically at the firm, that when one of my staff catches something or points something out, I say thank you first and foremost,
Yeah.
because that's why they're here.
Yeah.
And the moment I start telling it, the moment I disincentivize them to catch and point out errors and help make our product better, they stop.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the more we do this, the higher likelihood there is of a mistake or some better strategy. And we have to be humble and listen and always learn. I mean, I've been doing this 26 years, but I don't have all the answers, but somebody in my office does. So I want to listen. So,
Yeah. Absolutely.
So what mistakes or missteps, speaking of humility, being humble, right,
Yeah.
have taught you the most about leadership during your illustrious career?
Gosh, where to start? What has taught me to be a better leader? When I was younger, I was overwhelmed with stress, with so much work, everything due tomorrow. I learned how to calm down, and I understand I have to do this tomorrow and this and that. So I'm way better organized now to, let's say, I write my to-do list every single day. I have books and books and books and books and notepads and notebooks of notes. So I organize myself a lot better. So organization, and to just have everything as best organized and do what I have to do without being emotionally overwhelmed. The biggest fights in our personal and professional lives are due to lack of emotional control, anger, sadness, taking it personally, ego. And it's like the 7 deadly sins. Everybody, 7 deadly sins, read the 7 deadly virtues. I mean, the 7 virtues, I'm sorry.
Deadly virtues.
No, not that. So 7
sounds
deadly
awesome.
sins,
Oh, yeah.
seven virtues. And to counteract, ego, pride, sloth, all those that affect everybody. But I guess the key is, I know I'm going long term with this. It's not like I'm just going to practice this and then I'm going to go sell tamales or whatever. This is forever, for my entire life. So long term thinking, being as well organized as I can. My desk, for example, is squeaky clean, everything in perfect order. And during the day, you shuffle papers all here and there and files and everything. But before I leave, I cannot leave if my files aren't properly organized. It's a little OCD, a little ACA, attention deficit disorder, whatever you want to call it. But it was really helped me to organize, so I know exactly what I have to do the next day and the next day and the next day. So I emphasize a lot of organization, start early, and be able to listen and shut up and listen to others.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're coming down to the last minute.
Yes, absolutely. So I guess, let's kind of boil it down. Jaime, what would you say are the top 2 to 3 leadership practices that have allowed your firm not only to survive, but to grow and thrive in basically in this like turbulent environment that we're in?
Sure. Right now, it's really hard. It's very painful. The work is hard. The clients are scared. So more tolerance. One is tolerance. Understand that the clients, where they come from, why are they angry? Are they angry at you? Or are they angry at the fear of getting picked up whenever they go to work or the supermarket? So tolerant. Second one is organization. I can't emphasize that enough, that I've seen lawyers that have like, for example, a lot of it's scanned now, but if you have a paper file, every document has to be in proper order. I can't have a paper that's sticking out unless it has a purpose. So everything is organization, and then a lot of dialogue, a lot of talk, not giving orders, but listening and understanding what other lawyers are doing. So dialogue, organization, start early, and know that this is long term. So you have to do what you have to do. If your priority is to be the best lawyer you can, that has to be your priority. But you have to have a dialogue to balance it out eventually with your family and your fitness. It's crucial to be physically fit for this, because the stronger physically you are, the stronger mentally you are. And somebody that gets tired at 5 p.m. and I can get, I sustain until 9 p.m., it's a competitive advantage to be physically fit, because that creates mentally fit attorneys. And it's, right now, take care of your mind, of your mental health, because it is really an issue. And, attorneys, there's a lot of addiction, a lot of suicide, a lot of depression. And, Trump is, it's the Trump effect that we're doing a lot of detained work, a lot of court work, a lot of stressful work. So you have to be mentally and physically healthy.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, and I'll add this one again, touching back on our conversation a little earlier. I think something that you do incredibly well, that I recommend anybody listening that wants to follow your path does. It's connecting, right? Connect, not just with the obvious people. We talk about networking, and I feel like as lawyers and professionals, we're told to connect with other people that you can get something out of, right? People that can send you referrals or whatever. That is a very small piece of what's important. It's that connection that you have with your staff, with colleagues, but also people that are. When we were baby attorneys, you met us and you talked to us like people. It wasn't like.
And people can smell when they want something. Mm-hmm. And as you grow, you get approached by people like, oh, yes, you're wonderful. You're this, you're that. And I'm thinking, what do you want? So you have to be genuine. Like, I connect with people. I don't network. Mm-hmm. For me, it has no use. I mean, I really want to know somebody, and, maybe we do business in the future. But that's not the goal. Once people realize you're really approaching somebody because you want to know them, mm-hmm. instead of what can I gain. I have a friend who's extremely wealthy, and he told me this, that he has a barrier because people just approach him for something. And he lowers the barriers when it's his amigos. But that's what he has to do to protect himself, because somebody wants something from him all the time. And when he's able to genuinely connect, that's who he ends up doing business with, not on purpose, but because that's the best way to do business. You do business with your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an indirect benefit of being realistic and meeting people that they know you're really just looking for friendship.
Yeah.
Because us three, great attorneys here, by the way, we understand each other because it's the same pain.
Yeah.
Pain of being a lawyer, a business owner, and we share our clients' pains.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Jaime, it was amazing having you on our
It's all
podcast.
mine.
This was a very, very fun podcast episode for us to plan for. We were super excited about this. And we know you are a very, very busy man. So we really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. And I just want to say that amazing attorneys, good friends, but some of the best attorneys here in DFW.
Oh, I appreciate that.
We appreciate that. Thank you, Jaime.
Thank you.
So that wraps another episode of the Immigration Invasion podcast. As usual, you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and even Amazon if that's your dig, right? Tune in for us next time. We'll make sure that we have another exciting episode, and give us any feedback that you'd like. Please comment. If you like what you're hearing, give us a 5-star review and smash the subscribe button, the kids say. But we do appreciate each and every one of you guys listening and watching us out.